What's up, guys? How's it going? I know I'm a little tired to the party, but we're going to talk about all the changes that are going to be coming into the game after the PTB. Um, we're not going to talk about the matchmaking and the shrine secrets, the blood point changes. Those have just make it easier for you to get blood points. It doesn't actually change the game in any way, at least matches in any way, other than giving you more blood points. So. We'll start with the generator speeds. At least they are starting to realize that gens are a issue, because right now the gens just go way insanely too fast. There's going to be some perk nerfs. Okay. Many players feel like generators are powered too quickly without these perks. Corrupt, Invention, Paco's Weasel, Scourge, Hook, Pain, Resonance, and Ruin. It's not that they feel like they go too fast. They do go too fast. If you're not playing the strongest killers in the game, and you go against an efficient team, you're not winning. So we have increased the time it takes to power a generator up to 90 seconds from 80. That's not going to do anything. It just isn't. It's not enough time added. Bad survivors, the game's still going to stay the same. They're going to very slowly pump out gens where the killer might barely get them, because they're just really bad at the game. At least newer to the game, survivors and killers. They don't know what they're doing. Solo, this might add a little bit. Not enough to actually do anything, and this isn't going to affect high MMR or Swifts at all. They're still going to do the gens insanely quickly. They're still going to get to they're just going to complete their objective. Their objective is still much faster than the killer's objective. Kicking a generator will not instantly remove 2.5% of the maximum progression. I think it's like 2.2 seconds. It's not going to be much. It's not going to make a meaningful impact. It'll get countered by the survivors just working on it for like half a second, maybe a second. Change kick generator is more meaningful even if the survivor stops the regression shortly after. It doesn't really. It really doesn't. Survivors must decide whether they should tap a generator to prevent regression, which allows the kick again. Okay, so we take 1.8. I already know all the things that's happening. This is going to take 1.8 seconds to kick it, to regress it 2 seconds, 2.2. Then we walk away. They get on it for half a second to a second, and you've countered it. So it just ends up being, you kick it, walk away, I touch it, you come back, you kick it. It's a stalemate, so you're coming back to just regress the percentage that I increased it from you decreasing it while everyone else is doing gens. This isn't going to do piddly shit at all. These two changes are just not going to do anything. These just don't. They're not. This isn't enough. High MMR. This isn't going to change high MMR at all. And it ain't going to change low MMR at all. Low MMR is just going to be a freaking slow. But the only area it might change something is solo queue, and barely at all. This ain't going to make any change at low or higher MMR. Low MMR because they're just bad, and gens will either not get done anyway because they have struggling just to do generators at 80 seconds each. And at high MMR, they're just going to fly through it anyway. General killer improvements. The average kill rates, how many survivors killed each trial on average, are a little lower than we'd like. Well, you shouldn't be balancing the game on kills anyway. So it's ridiculous that you're balancing the game on kills, because the best strategy for it is camping and tunneling, which I believe you're nerfing into the ground. So game's going to end up being, at least my predictions, just higher MMR killers. We're just going to slug everyone and then one hook everyone. That's going to be the new playstyle, most likely, if they can. If the killer is able to do it. So a lot of the killers can't do the slug nonsense. A sentiment echoed by many community members. To ensure the killer feels like an unstoppable force to be feared, you're making improvements in many aspects of the killer gameplay. Reduce the time it takes to break pallets by 10%. It's not going to do anything. That's like giving us partial brutal strength. Like, it's not even a full brutal strength. Generators can also be kicked 10% faster than before. Again, 0.2 seconds off of kicking the pallet. 0.26 off of kicking the doors. These aren't going to do anything. It's literally not going to do anything. Next, we reduce the cooldown to successful basic attacks by 10%. 0.3 seconds. Reduce the duration, the survivor speed boost upon being hit by 10%, 1.8 from 2. Moving forward, survivors will gain slightly less distance being hit, make it more difficult to run long distance to a safe area. The only way this will actually do anything, if you already made the area you've hit them in a dead zone. There are so many pallets and so many god pallets, god loops, just bullshit that's around the map, that unless you've already gone in crazy amounts of chases and broke a bunch of pallets and made a bunch of dead zones, they're even with this slowdown, I think it's like two stacks of save the best for last. They're still going to get to a pallet. They're still going to get to a window. They're still going to get to a god loop. This isn't going to do anything. So we get a very basic brutal strength, and we get two stacks of save the best for last. These aren't going to do anything. Good survivors are still going to get to a pallet. Good survivors are still going to get to a window or a god loop. This is only going to affect low MMR because they don't know where the hell they're going. So if anything, this is a nerf to low MMR. Not even mid MMR. At least a mid MMR, the medium, like between shit and insane survivors are still going to know where to go. So getting hit, they're still going to be able to go to a pallet. So this is just nerfing survivors who are bad at the game. And buffing killers who are bad at the game. Finally, we take the bloodlust increase. Powered quicker than before, and most cases the bloodlust does not activate, though the rare cases that can be it can be necessary. The long build-up often leaves killers a bad spot, even if they get a hit. We're adjusting the tiers to activate 15, 25, 35 from 15, 30, 40. This is pointless. With the amount of god pallets and god loops, if you're taking the time to get to Bloodlust 3, you've lost the game. A lot of the pallets, even with Bloodlust 3, at least the god loops, you can't even get them. Because they're infinites. There's nothing you can do at Bloodlust 3. Even if somehow the survivor messes up and you do get a hit on them, Bloodlust is gone now, and they can just go around that loop again. Now you have to wait till Bloodlust 3 again to get them again. So, 35 seconds. That's going to be almost one generator with two survivors. Almost. With the 90, I think it's going to be like 52 seconds, I think. Maybe 48. No, 48 was with the old stuff, with the old survivor. So it's going to be like 52 seconds. Two survivors. It's not going to do anything. After the first tier, Bloodlust does not change. It will be more prevalent in the average chase. No, it won't. Because most of the counterplay to a god pallet is just break it. So if you did get Bloodlust, you got to break the pallet anyway. Bearing in mind general improvements above, we expect Bloodlust to become even more uncommon outside of exceptional circumstances. It's going to be just about as uncommon. It's going to be just about as uncommon as it was before, because it's still a dogshit mechanic. With how long it takes to get it. It should have been most likely 10, 15, 20. because even at 20-second chase, it's still really hard to get them, and you just lose it by doing anything that allows you to maybe get them. So you just were walking in the circle for 20 seconds. And then you gotta do it again, and then you gotta pick them up. Then you gotta bring them to the hook. By the time, even with a 20-second Bloodlust Tier 3, you're still wasting at least a minute. If you get the Tier 3, hit them, get back to Tier 3, down them, break the pallet, pick them up, bring them to a hook, then make it over to the generator that someone's on, you end up losing 1 to 2 gens anyway. If you're taking a chase all the way to Bloodlust 3, down to nothing, back to Bloodlust 3 on a god loop. So this Bloodlust change isn't going to do a goddamn thing. Okay, now the fucking ridiculous idea that they put in. On the Survivor side, there's a clear preference for perks that grant a second chance, borrowed time, decisive strike, dead hard, and perks that nature to help Survivor avoid certain death, leading to an extreme usage rate. A benefit of these second chance perks is how they help prevent unfun situations, namely being camped and tunneled out of the game, repeatedly being targeted after being unhooked. They still don't know why killers are doing this. They don't understand it, which is why this shit is happening. In order to incentivize a meaningful change in the meta, it was clear that we needed to address those controversial tactics. Second chance perks should be nice to have, not essential to ensure enjoyable gameplay. Moving forward, survivors will receive a 5-second borrowed time effect after being unhooked. This gives the survivors an opportunity to reach a nearby pallet or window, or another survivor to position themselves for a protection hit. So, this is going to be just horrendous. Given the base borrowed time, this literally pretty much makes it so they don't understand endgame, especially endgame. They gave them a free escape now. If you don't hook them miles away from the exit door, this is just going to make it so that survivor that got unhooked gets out for free. Additionally, unhooked survivor will receive a save and precise haste effect for 5 seconds to make them harder to catch. Again, another way. So once you hook a survivor, that survivor, unless they're miles away, that survivor's getting out. There's nothing you can do. It's literally nothing you can do if you hook them too close to a door. Even with these changes, because these, like I said, these killer changes aren't going to do anything. They're just going way too safe with the percentages, like they do always. Whenever they put in killer shit or nerf or buff killer shit, they always go way too safe, even though the killer's supposed to be the power roll. But they always go way too safe with it, so they give them these minuscule bullshit buffs that don't do anything. Well, they give survivors borrowed time on base. Oh, and hope on base after being unhooked. So you have borrowed time, half a borrowed time, and hope haste increase for 5 seconds. Both effects will be canceled prematurely if the unhooked survivor performs what we now call conspicuous action. These are interactions that are being chased. Those are improved chase and survival. So preparing a gen, healing yourself or others, cleansing a boon, blessing, sabotaging a hook, unhooking others at open exit gate. You won't be able to do these really. The only thing that you'd be able to do in that 5 seconds is open an exit gate. Because in 5 seconds you're really not going to make it to anything else. So this just pretty much just makes it so that you can't beat the base BT off the hook, open the exit gate, and leave. That's all it does. But there's other perks, the perks that are being changed that are just going to make it fine, change it. So base changes, we hope survivors can switch out their perk loadouts without fear being camping, tunneling. We'll cut their next match short. If you're going to give survivors a perk base, you should really start give killers a perk base. Maybe corrupt intervention. Maybe Like, oh, but they got like 2.5% reduction. Yeah, no, it's not anywhere near on the same power level as this. Nowhere near. This is insane. This is pathetic. 2.2 seconds off of a generator is going to take them half a second to a second to counter. Don't care about the graphs. We already know this. Okay. Barbecue and chili. The old effect, upon hooking a survivor, you see the auras of different survivors for a short duration. Gain a stacking blood point bonus for each unique survivor hooked. This... Whatever. They took the blood points away. This perk is probably because it's particularly powerful. It is definitely a powerful perk. It's one of those perks that you see a lot because it just gives you information that you need. Without information, the killer just stays at the hook. It's they need information to know where to go next. So they just remove the blood points, whatever. With the new patch, they're adding a bunch of blood point increasing is like 75%. They're taking away from grinding blood points. So whatever. Hex Ruin. It regresses automatically for 200%. Once the survivor lets go of the totem. Master part of Hex Ruin appeals not having to stop and kick generators, as well as the ability to passively aggress them from a distance. These aspects make Ruin a unique slowdown perk, and we're not looking to change them. It's because the reason they run it, yeah, they don't have to kick it, because kicking doesn't do anything. It's still not going to do anything. To bring Hex Ruin in line with other perks, we are reducing the reaction speed from to 50, 75, 100 from 150, 200. And it's reduced the power without its primary appeal. After a survivor is killed, the Hex Ruin automatically deactivates. Hex Ruin is absolutely and utterly dead. This perk is gone. This will never see the light of day again until they buff it, which they probably will never buff. So your max on Ruin is your minimum on Old Ruin. And man, my throat is fucking. Ugh. So it will regress at 1/4 the speed of a solo survivor. So at 70 seconds, it will take 280 seconds for it to regress to 0. This perk's dead. It's gone. This is never. It's so weak, and it kills itself after you kill someone. This isn't going to do anything. This will never see play again, ever. In its original state, it still needed buffs. This perk was bad. It wasn't bad. It was like this perk is bad now. Before, it was just not strong enough to be warranted as a hex perk. In the state of 100, 150, 200, it should have been the same thing they're doing with the borrow time. It should have just been part of the base kit. But Ruin's dead. It's not going to be seen. If you see anyone use it, it's people who haven't read the patch notes or maybe just testing to see if it truly is dead. But it's dead. This isn't going to do anything. There's no point in running it anymore. Pop the Weasel. After hooking a survivor next January, you kick within the time limit instantly loses 25% of its total progression. Pop Quiz Weasel gives killers a controlled way to remove significant progress from a generator of their choosing. Given the kicking generator now removes 2.5% of the total progression by default, we decided to tone down some of the numbers to compensate. This perk will now remove 20% of the generator's current progression. So, this perk is also dead. This perk isn't going to do anything anymore. This is not going to be a viable gen regression perk. This was a good reward for actually chasing someone, downing them and hooking them, and then going for a different chase, downing them and hooking them. They're nerfing perks that what's the word? incentivize leaving the hook. To go use this, you have to leave the hook to go kick the gen. This perk is not going to see the light of day again. This perk is garbage now. The gen has to be almost done for this to even have similar use, similar to old Pop's use. It ain't gonna do anything. It's garbage. It's gone. Corrupt Intervention. At the start of the match, the 3 first generators are blocked for 320 seconds. I believe it was 320. This perk makes the beginning of the match more manageable, forcing survivors to extend deeper into the map before repairing a generator. We aren't looking to change the aspect moving forward. The perk will deactivate once the survivor enters the dying state. We believe this change will keep Corrupt Intervention effective in helping the killer begin early game pressure while providing its limit to power. This is ridiculous. They're punishing killers for finding a survivor early. Pretty much just making it so that this will actually kill their pressure, because you just open 3 gens that they can go do that aren't around the gens you would patrol. So this may see a little play. This will in a higher MR, it might stick around a little bit longer because it's going to be harder to get a survivor. So you might get maybe 120 seconds out of Corrupt Intervention, depending on depending on the survivors in it. But this isn't going. This is no. His perk is dead in early MMR and low MMR, because they're going to go down pretty easy because survivors don't know what the hell they're doing at really low MMR. Mid MMR, this is, again, it might stick around for a little bit. It'll be less than high MMR, because the higher you go in MMR, the more they're going to know about the game. But they still don't know loops and how to loop things efficiently yet. But this is pretty much a dead perk in high MMR, I believe. I feel like high MMR. Sorry. Retract. High MMR, it might do something still, because higher MMR survivors are just going to know how to loop. It's going to be really hard to get them, so you might get a little bit more time. But overall, this perk is okay still. It's just not going to be as powerful. I don't think that they should have nerfed it. I know it was very prevalent in the meta, but I feel like they could have gone a different way with nerfing it. Tinkerer, another dead killer perk. Before, every time the generator reached 70% progression, the killer received a loud notification and became undetectable. Now it can only be triggered once per gen. So they think that just because they increased it to 90, that the killers will have it warrants the destruction of Tinkerer. But no, this perk's dead. They come up, they kick it, it regresses below 70%, which is, I think, 75 seconds at that point. And then they lose the gen anyway because they don't get any more information to go back to it. I think Tinker is dead. The only meta this was really bad for was low MMR. That's it. This perk was a healthy perk for mid to high MMR. But nerfing it for low MMR. No one escapes death. We all know it does. We hear people cry about it all the time. But now, it does the same thing it did before, but the game is going to tell you where it is. It shows the aura within 4 seconds, up to 20, shows the aura within 4 meters, up to 24. That is a huge radius of telling you where NOED is. over 30 seconds. It'll go up to 24. It does, if it breaks, if you have Undying up and it breaks and it goes to Undying, the time doesn't reduce back to 4. It's still at 24, so there's no point running Undying with it. This perk is also dead. This perk is also very, very dead. Low MMR, it might still see some play, because it's still one of those, you down someone and you hook them. But it definitely becomes more you want to hook them by the totem so you can protect the totem and them at the same time. If you don't hook them near that totem's gone. The totem's just gone. It's already pretty easy to find. Low MMR, mid MMR, they'll just leave. The higher MMR you get, they stay and they look for it and they break it anyway. Oh my god. That hitbox for the clicking. So yeah, this perk's dead. There's no point in it. This is literally a big nerf to low MMR. And this is just going to be dead pretty much immediately for high MMR. It was already dead really quickly for high MMR. It's just going to be dead even quicker now because it tells you what it is. Scorch Hook. Pain Resonance. Whenever you hook the survivor on a Scorch Hook, the generator with the most progression explodes, notifying the killer, and instantly loses its progression speed. Loses 15% progression. The most recent addition to the meta, Pain Resonance, allows the killer to remove a sizable chunk from the most progressed generator simply by hooking survivor. That is horrible, horrible wording. Horrible. Simply. They don't realize how long it takes to down a survivor at high MMR. They don't realize how long it takes to get to a hook. And if you even get a Scorch Hook, because there's only 4 Scorch Hooks that spawn, you can just not make it to a Scorch Hook and then this perk doesn't do anything. If every hook was a Scorch Hook, then it'd be a little more understandable to say simply, but even then, simply is just a bad word to use. This is bad. This is horrible. They should have not put simply, because it is not simply. Allow notification also allows the killer to disrupt the survivors before they can continue repairing. A jack of all trades of sorts, granting both powerful regression effect and critical information. Yeah. This tells the killer where they need to go next. Nerfing this so it doesn't... Yeah, they took away the noise notification and the screaming. It just sparks. So it does the same thing as Jolt. By nerfing this and not tell them where they're going, it's just incentivizing them to stay at the hook. Because now they don't know where to go. Now they have to use this, and they have to use 2 perks to get similar information to what they got before. Since it doesn't make you scream, it doesn't kick the survivors off of the gen. So it sparks for 15, and then the survivors just keep working on it. Because it doesn't kick them off. This, I feel like, is also going to be a dead perk. I don't see Scorch Hook being used anymore. If you see it getting used, they're using it with Barbecue instead of Deadman's. But the combinations of perks that you used to get used with it, they used to use Pop and Scourge, or Scourge and Deadman's, because they would block them off and then block the generator for 60 seconds. Giving you the ability to pressure other gens while that is blocked. But this perk is pretty much dead as well. I don't see this getting used anymore. So, out of the killer's perks, they have killed 1, 2. This could still see play. 3, 4, 5. They killed 5. They just straight up killed 5 meta perks. Barbecue and Corrupt will still see play. Corrupt will see play, but probably a little bit less. But Barbecue will still see play because the effectiveness of it is still there. Okay, Dead Hard. Survivor perks now. Dead Hard. When you activate it, you jumped forward and became immune for the duration of the jump. Dead Hard is by far the most used Survivor perk after Decisive. In the right hands, it acts like a third health state, allowing the survivor to escape a situation where they would otherwise go down. There are 2 main ways the Dead Hard is used: to dodge a hit or for distance. to get to a nearby pallet or window. In the latter case, there's not much the killer can do. Therefore, the Dead Hard will now provide an endurance effect for 1 second when activated. If you time it right, you'll prevent the hit, getting a movement speed boost. This will remove Dead Hard for distance and make it slowly for dodging hits. So, if being slapped, if it just dodged it, if it just gave you iframes, not the endurance effect, then what they said would be true. But because it gives you the endurance effect, you get hit and you get a sprint burst. So you still get the sprint burst, you still travel distance. The jump forward takes you about 0.5 seconds forward into a chase. So you get 0.5 seconds of jumping of immortality. This actually might be a buff to Dead Hard. Dead Hard might have actually gotten buffed with this nerf, quote unquote. So this ain't dead. This is still going to be seen by almost every single survivor. The only difference is low MMR survivors won't really be able to use it anymore. Mid and high MMR survivors are still going to use this. They're still going to get that sprint burst. They're still going to make the pallet or the window. Because if they're using it at the right time, the killers are still just going to have to hit them or let them vault the window. So it comes down to if they're allowed to vault or drop a pallet while they're dead, while they're affected by the endurance effect. If not, then this perk is fine. But because it doesn't say it, I assume they can still activate their endurance effect for a second and then drop the pallet or vault a window. So I feel like this perk is still is actually buffed. So this will still probably see the same amount of plays it saw before by mid and high MMR, just not by low MMR anymore. Decisive Strike. On this, before, obviously, when you're unhooked, you're affected by Decisive Strike for 60 seconds. If the killer picked you up, you got stunned for 5 seconds. Now, it is a 3-second duration, and once the gates are powered, it deactivates. This was a good change. It deactivates after the power, but the only thing is, they don't need it to be active once the exit gates are powered because you gave them built-in borrowed time. Borrowed time takes the place of Decisive Strike. So you effectively, for endgame, gave them built-in Decisive Strike as well. So, deactivating at exit gate, yeah. It means that if somehow you're able to down them after the endurance effect ends, you can pick them up and then try and hook them, but odds are, unless you, again, like I said before, unless you hook them miles away from the gates, they're still going to get out with the endurance effect. The stun duration from 5 to 3. I see a bunch of survivors crying that they nerfed Decisive. Do you forget this is what it used to be? It went from 5 to 3 seconds. Before it went from 3 to 5 seconds. They just reverted the buff that they gave it. 5 seconds is too long. A lot of people, including me, have just been saying that 5 seconds is way too goddamn long. They get so much distance. If you do get decisive, you get so heavily punished. Yeah, it does stop you from, it does stop you from tunneling a little bit, but it also kills any momentum. Say you left them, you chased someone else, you downed them actually pretty quickly. You pick them up, you hook them, and then the person with decisive comes in, tries to body block you, tries to keep you from getting the hook. You down them, you pick them up, you get decisive. You went for a completely new chase, down them, hook them, and then got decisive strike because you downed them too quickly. 3 seconds is going to be a little bit better because with that game style, you might be able to stop them from going for the unhook. You might be able to catch up to them a little bit sooner, but it's still good. It's still going to be a good perk. They didn't really nerf it. They just took the 2 seconds. They gave it away from when they buffed it. When they buffed it from the old original decisive strike, which was even more broken. Because every survivor had it the first time and whenever they're downed. So this is still going to see play. This wasn't truly nerfed. This was actually buffed, most likely. So far, Survivors are doing much better than Killer. Killer has 5 dead perks now. Survivor, the perks that were... I'm bad. The perks that were seen a lot are still going to be seen. It's still going to be seen. Bar time. When you hook someone, they got 8 seconds of endurance. So now that the 5 second, you get the 5 second bar time, this is going to increase. So they're just taking the max duration, adding 2 seconds onto it, and then increasing the 5 seconds you get. So a survivor running borrowed time increases that 5 second endurance and 7% haste speed from 5 seconds to 15 seconds of protection and speed. So borrowed time got buffed. I'm not seeing survivor perks getting nerfed here. I don't see the meta changing almost at all. I say we still see Dead Hearts, we still see Decisive, and we still see borrowed time in the meta. 100%. 100%. I still see these 3 perks being seen. Iron Will. The perk, it used to mute you by 100%. It now mutes you by 75. This is the first meaningful nerf to a survivor perk. Though, this perk isn't dead. This perk is still going to be a good perk, at least my opinion, but it's not going to be this huge perk buff for every survivor. You can't just throw Iron Will onto a survivor and then have it carry you through a chase, because the killer can't hear you because they can barely hear your footsteps over the chase music and you're completely muted for sound. This is still going to be a useful perk, I feel, for the louder survivors such as Bill, Jane, Jeff, etc. So I don't see this being dead. I just see this not being used on every single survivor because it's insanely powerful perk. I still see this being good. I still see survivors who like to use the louder survivors because they think they look cool using it, because it still is good on those survivors. Self-care. They changed it. Instead of being 50% max, so half the speed of normal, to 35% speed of normal, and took away the item efficiency. This would be a effective nerf, but most survivors use this also with botany knowledge. And we'll see why this isn't actually a nerf. This is actually like a 5% buff once we get to botany knowledge. So this is still going to see play at lower MMR and somewhat at higher MMR with botany knowledge. Spine Chill. This is the first actually probably dead perk. Before, whenever the killer looked at you, it would light up and you get increased all actions that required had a speed increase. It's got a period with resilience, giving you a massive volt speed increase, making it so you just got over those where a killer would normally hit you, they just don't, because you vaulted it much quicker. So they took away the volt speed increase, and they added a short lingering effect, and it triggers when the killer gets the terror radius would normally get to you. So it still does the same thing that Spine Chill used to do against a stealth killer. When the terrorists would affect you, it triggers. So it's still going to be good against stealth killers. It won't be used with the vault build anymore. So this is the only actual nerf to survivor perks other than Iron Will. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 of the perks didn't get nerfs. 4 out of the 6 perks. So we got 5 perks just completely destroy. Not we. I play both sides. But killers lost 5 meta perks, and survivors didn't even lose the 2 perks that actually got nerfed. This is still going to be good to see stealth killers, so lower MMR survivors are still going to be able to play it. Are still going to play it because they aren't as observant, and this will still get used on loud survivors. It just won't be used on every single. So the 2 perks that saw huge nerfs might still see play. So this isn't even a nerf to survivors. These aren't even nerfs. This one got buffed. This one, combined with Botany Knowledge, got buffed. Iron Will and Spine Chill got slightly nerfed. Spine Chill got the biggest nerf out of the Survivor perks, taking away the Vault Speed. Okay, now the perks that are getting buffed. Along with its current effects, Overcharge will cause the generator regression speed to grow from 100% to 400% over the course of 30 seconds. Survivors will want to stop the generator from regressing as soon as possible. This is a good buff. I don't think I got to Overcharge in my talking about it yet. But this is, I feel, going to be the same issue. For you to want it to go from 100 to 400%, I see again another bunch of survivors losing their shit over 400%. It's 400%, so that it will regress at the same speed of a solo survivor, increasing it. Survivors are flipping shit, saying, "Oh, now it's faster than the survivor can progress it." No, it's the same speed of a solo survivor progressing it. And it takes 30 seconds to get there. This is going to encourage babysitting in the gen now. And if they the skill check isn't... Bad survivors miss the skill check. A good survivor ain't going to miss it. Unless you're a doctor. Then a good survivor will, because it's harder skill checks. So, this is a good buff. It's going to promote a little bit more gen camping. So, I see you almost never getting to the 400%. This is a good buff. It does make the perk strong, but I don't see you getting to 400%. I see survivors coming over and stopping it at higher MMR. Eruption. They released it with safe numbers, like as they do to every single perk they introduce. So they increase the penalty to 10% and the incapacitation effect to 25 seconds. This is a better perk. It's still going to be one of those... They didn't add the original effect. Originally you'd kick a gen, and when you would down a survivor with a basic attack, it would cause the gens that you kick to explode for a percentage, and if survivors were working on it, they wouldn't be able to work on it again for duration. So, this is a decent buff. It's okay. I feel like these two will probably end up getting used together. But these are just going to be the new gen, like this and Jolt will probably be the new gen protection perks. It's just not going to be as powerful as the old one, so the changes they made so far to gen regression perks aren't warranting the small changes they made to the base kit. So this is okay. It's a halfway decent buff. They'll play around it once they know you have it. Knockout, and it's going to make it so they crawl slower and recover slower for 15 seconds. By 25 seconds, by 25% and 50%. No one ever used knockout for this reason. They used it to slug, which I feel like we're going to see a lot more of with all the changes all the nerfs they've done to Killer. And the very minimal buffs they did to Killer. I feel like this is going to see a lot more prevalence because Killer is going to start slugging more, along with Colorphobia. It used to before take much longer to heal in their terror radius, and you had a higher chance of getting skill checks in their terror radius. This will now make it so that the speed of the skill check going around the circle to be faster. So this will probably end up causing a bunch of the survivors who aren't as good as the game to miss skill checks more often. So this is a decent buff. It might throw off some of the better survivors, but overall, it still probably won't see much play, except for in the slugging build. Dark Devotion, they made it so that instead of just downing them through a basic attack, you can down them through your power to put or hit them with your power to give them the terror radius. So it's better, definitely better. It shouldn't have been basic attack to begin with. Jolt. Okay. Now this is one of the perks. I went on a massive rant in one of my videos. They took away, normally, when you would down them, which you still have to down them through a basic attack, not by an effect. So Bubba won't be able to use this with his chainsaw. Or an iridescent hatchet, you have to... Or... Actually, I don't think Mikey's tier 3 would do it because it counts. I think it counts as downing them through a power attack, even though it's still a mouse one hit. So you remove the cooldown. This was one of the buffs I did suggest in the video, was removing the cooldown. There was no reason for this to have a cooldown when it was introduced on Demogorgon as oh my god, I forget the name of its old name, at least. Surge. When it got introduced as Surge. I still feel like this could be buffed a little bit more. Some did comment on the thing. Oh, you get up to 4. It's going to hit 4 generators on average. No, on average it hits 1 to 2. If survivors are doing generators that close to each other, you're not playing against effective survivors. Efficient survivors, you're at most getting two gens at most. With this, it doesn't explode, doesn't kick them off of it. That's one of the other big things I said. When you down them, it shouldn't have a cooldown, and it should push them off the generator. It's doing the same thing that Scourge Hook does now, and it just sparks and regresses it for a percentage. It's a pathetic percentage too, and they messed up the wording on the perk too. Someone brought up, it doesn't say 32%, it just says regresses 32. Wait, what? They typoed the hell out of the perk. So this will see a decent amount more play now that the cooldown's gone, but it still could see a bit more of a buff. Lisa Pursuer. So you like reading auras, huh? Top existing effect. It now extends the duration of all aura effects. This includes add-ons and perks. This perk is still dog shit. This perk still won't see any play. It might see some play once the PTB things come into the game to see how it is, but this perk is still garbage. This isn't going to do anything. This should have they should have added something on to the aura reading, like while their aura is revealed, the survivor's speed is reduced by 5%, or something like that. But no, they just gave it a 2-second increase on all other aura reading effects. So this perk is still garbage. This perk still won't see play except for maybe the first week of out of the PTB. Scorcho Gift of Pain. The perk also shipped with Shape numbers. Yes, it did. It increased the action speed penalty to 10, 13, 16. So all your action speed penalties are increased before by a percentage. And if you got injured, the regression got removed. And I think this only applied on the first hook. So after the first hook, this couldn't get reapplied. So I still feel like this stat probably could have been increased a bit more. This probably could have got increased to 20, but it's better than it was before. Still won't see any play. I still don't see this seeing any play. Because, again, there's only 4 Scorch Hooks on the map, and you're not... The only reason Pain Resonance seeing play because it gave you this immediate buff if you got a Scorch Hook, and it happened every time you got the Scorch Hook. I believe this only works on the first time the survivor is hooked on a Scorch Hook. Natophobia, they increased it by 0.5 seconds. For 0.5%. So this barely got a buff at all. Thanatophobia still will only see play on, let's see, effective play on Plague and Legion. Other than that, his perk is still just not going to see play on most killers. Scorchhook Monster Shrine. They made the Monster Shrine a Scorchhook, and as long as they're hooked on a Scorchhook, and you're not camping them, 24 meters is a huge radius. So, just like Noah being revealed, you just have to be crazy far away. Not crazy far, but you still have to be a decent distance away. Sorry. That was my cat's doing something I had to be sure he wasn't done doing something he shouldn't be. So this perk won't see any play. It won't. Survivors, a higher MMR and mid MMR, just they unhook before this will actually make a meaningful change to their progression. The moment they realize that you have Monster Shrine, they're just going to start unhooking effectively the moment you get with they're going to, not the moment, but they're going to unhook much quicker. So this I don't see seeing any play. This isn't if they maybe reduce the radius maybe to 12 meters, then this might see some play, but this ain't going to see any play. So let's look at the killers. Not going to see any play. It's going to see the play on the same killers. Not going to see any play. Not going to see any play. This will actually probably see some play now. Won't see any play. Only in slugging builds. Might see some play. So, some very minimum buffs to killer perks. We might see 3 perks. Might to replace the gen regression perks that were removed, and on killers that can make use of these, like Doctor with his massive terror radius. Killers who can just apply the pressure. Wraith might be able to, depending on the add-ons they use, but most of these perks still won't see any play outside of the first maybe week or two when they're testing it out. Calm Spirit, they buffed it. You now open chests and totem, and you bless and cleanse totems. With no sound, but it takes 30% longer. It's a good buff. This is still might see some minimal play. This doesn't see that much play, but maybe with this you might see a little bit higher. But the moment they realize this still might see some play for the first couple weeks, maybe the first month, but it'll probably fall into obscurity again. This out of the few survivors who play it because they just don't like the Doctor. Saboteur now highlights Scorch Hooks, so they're making it harder to get Scorch Hooks while nerfing all the Scorch Hooks. So this is just not gonna. This is just making it so that Scorch Hooks just don't see play anymore. Here we are, Botany Knowledge. They increased the healing speed to 50%. So all they did was swap the numbers between Botany Knowledge and Self-Care. So this went from 11, 22, 33 to 30, 40, 50. So they got a 2% buff. This went from 50 to 35, now from 33 to 50. So the numbers got swapped, and then this got a 2% higher than what old Botany Knowledge did. So Self-Care is probably still going to see play with Botany Knowledge because it actually got buffed. Off the record, this is one of the insane changes that they made. Now when unhooked, you are affected by borrowed time for 80 seconds. 80 seconds. if you head off the record and are unhooked at the end of the game, there is jack or shit the killer is going to do to get you down. There ain't jack or shit. It's ridiculous. This was an insane increase. This is an insane buff off the record. You don't even need to do the exit gate. Someone else can open the exit gate. But this is 80 seconds of... This is... You get unhooked at the end of the game and you are leaving. There is nothing the killer is doing to stop you. Lucky Break. They made it so that you gain a second back of Lucky Break for each second that you're healing another survivor. I like the buff. That's a good buff. I don't think I got a Lucky Break yet. I might have. I don't think I did, though. This was something I was thinking of with Lucky Break, giving you a way to get Lucky Break back. So this was a good buff. I like this one. This might actually see a bit of play now that there's a way to get it back. Pharmacy. Now you only get it when you are injured. It only reveals a med kit when you're injured. And it reveals the same med kit when you're injured, the green one. So, this is actually a pretty good buff. Always being guaranteed it when you're injured, when you need it. I think this is a good change, but I still only see Pharmacy getting used on loot builds. Because it still gives you that speed increase while opening the chest. So, I don't see this just getting played in generic builds, but I do. This is a good bit a buff to it. You might see it as a meme a little bit, but chests tend to get opened before you can open them all by yourself anyway. At least what I've noticed. So, good buff. Still probably won't see any play. Soul Survivor. So, the first thing is meaningless. In addition to hiding your aura, Soul Survivor will now increase your general repair speed by 75%. So this first bit is pointless. No survivor increases their... I think in all the years I've played Dead by Daylight, I finally had one match where Soul Survivor would have actually done something because the killer was just camping on top of the hatch. And I was just doing gens while he was camping the hatch. This would have actually done something in that instance. But that is the first time in the 4.5 years I've played this game. It's the first instance where this would have actually done something. Now, the part that actually matters. Your exit gate and hatch action speeds are increased by 50% if you're the last survivor. Holy fucking shit. Keys are almost unnerfed with this, since you can only escape through the hatch with the key once you're the last one alive. And you open up the exit gates 50% faster. I think it's 10 seconds, right, to open an exit gate? I believe it's 10 seconds. So you open an exit gate in 5 seconds now. What the fuck? So in the rare instances where the killer actually could stop you from leaving, doesn't do anything now. You can effectively just jump on the exit gate and get it open before they even get to you, even if they're close together. I think it was like 10 or 12. I think it was 10 or 12 seconds. But this is ridiculous. So what it used to be before, at the end of the game, if one survivor was left, you closed the hatch, and the doors were opposite sides of the map. Killer was physically not getting you. If they were a decent space apart, it became the survivor having to make the right play to get the exit gate and leave. They still had a chance of leaving. The killer had a chance of stopping them. If they were next to each other or on the same wall, there's nothing a survivor could do. The killer got them. But now, gates are farther away. The killer physically can't stop you. The gates are relatively close to each other. The killer has to be lucky. They have to go to the right gate at the right time to see you there, or they just don't get you. If they're next to each other, you can actually still get out. You can still get out. They go to the wrong door first and you're gone. So, instead of fixing the end game, instead of fixing end game collapse, they've made it so that survivors escape easier at the end. Distortion. Getting their tokens back. This was a decent perk already. But now they can get their token back for one token back for every 30 seconds they are within the killer's terror radius. This might see a bit more play now. I thought it was a decent perk before. It's just other perks were better. This is now better. This might actually see a bit more play. Lightweight, depending on how sporadic the scratch marks are, because they're increasing the sporadicness of the scratch marks, and they're making it so they go away 2 seconds faster. So after 1 second, they just go away. Or not. That was wrong. But they go away 5 seconds faster. I read it. They did the things reversed. So instead of going away 1 second faster, 2 seconds faster, 3 seconds faster, they go away 3 seconds faster, 4 seconds faster, 5 seconds faster. So they go away much quicker and they're more sporadic. So it's going to be harder for the lower ranked survivors to keep lower ranked killers to keep track of the survivors running. So lightweight. Again, you only really see this at lower MMR to hide the scratch marks. So this is a buff to low MMR. This will definitely see play there. Deja Vu. This is giving you a 5% increased speed to generators revealed by Deja Vu. So every time you do a generator, the generators revealed by this just get a 5% increase to you being repaired. This is... What's that? 5% of 90? Was that like it takes 3 seconds less to do a gen, I think? So this will still make it go by 3 seconds faster, but it's not a big. It's a buff, but it's not like insane. It's an okay buff. But yeah. No One Left Behind will now grant a 7% movement speed bonus to any survivor you unhook, making so if you have borrowed time and No One Left Behind, that's 10 seconds of 14% movement speed increase. So a survivor will end up only moving 1% slower than a 115 killer, meaning a survivor unhooked will be faster than a 110 killer by 4%. Meaning, if you go after the unhooked survivor, you physically can't catch them because they are faster than you. The only way you'd be able to get them is if you make a good mind game in a area that has a bunch of sight blocking. But they can also make a read on that as well. So this is bar time. It feels going to be insane at the end of the game. You're not stopping the survivor. Dark Sense. Next time a killer comes within 24 meters of you, this aura will be revealed to you for 10 seconds instead of being activated when the generator is activated. So it pretty much gen completes. This activates, and then when they get near you, it triggers and you see them. This is a much better change to Dark Sense. This is going. I think. Killers that are not oblivious, that are hidden or cloaked with the undetectable status effect won't be revealed. But I feel like this will still trigger and tell you they're coming for you. So it's going to be like Spine Chill for stealth killers. So this is actually a good buff. This might actually see some play. So I hate this. This is a horrible change to Tenacity. In addition to current effects, Tenacity now reduces your grunts of pain by 75% while in the dying state, combined with the increased crawling speed it already has. So they, instead of fixing the bug that's in the game, which gives survivors 100% reduction of sound on the ground, which is still in the game for over a year, they're just making it a feature. They're making a feature of a perk. Instead of 100%, it's 75%, but it's now just a feature of the perk. It's ridiculous. I hate that change. It's ridiculous. Hope. So, this is now just a permanent. So you now, once the X-Gates are completed, or once the X-Gates are powered, you just have a permanent 7% increase. If a survivor is using this while they're unhooked. Holy shit. Even 115 killers won't be able to catch them, because they'll be at 124? No, 121%. So I said what, 4.8 or 5.0 meters per second. So even a 115 killer won't be able to catch them. This is a good buff to hope. This is a strong buff. So this might actually see some play. We'll see. Overzealous. Cleansing a totem now grants you a speed bonus of 6, 7, 8% currently. But now it's going to give you 16% after you break a hex totem until you're injured. Holy shit. Holy shit. That is insane. How much of an increase is that? I'm just going to figure it out real quick. It is quite a buff. So 90 seconds divided by 0.16. No, times 0.16. Duh. So it's going to take 14 seconds off a gen after cleansing a hex totem. Holy shit. This is going to... I might even start running this once it comes out. Like, that's a huge increase. We're going to live forever. Unlike Barbecue, they didn't just remove the blood point increase. They actually buffed the perk. Much like Barbecue Chili, its perk features a massive blood point bonus. We don't want blood points to dedicate how if the perk is used, so we remove the bonus blood points from We're Going to Live Forever. But, additionally, actions that previously granted a token will activate this perk's secondary effect. While active, healing a survivor from the dying state gives them the endurance status effect. So healing someone gives them borrowed time from the dying state. So you're giving a survivor you heal. What's it called? Soul Guard. What the fuck? You buff a survivor perk that you take the blood points away, but you don't buff the killer perk when you take blood points away. Holy shit. This didn't need it. It didn't need it. Oh my god. So I just want to go through these real quick. And we're going to see decent. Might see play. Only in slug builds, which I think might actually become a thing. Won't see play. Might see play. Won't see play. Only on 2 killers. Won't see play. So 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to lump these in. So 6 of the killer perks that are getting buffed just won't see play because they're not going to be good enough. Might see play. Will still see play. Will still see play. Will definitely see play. Will see play. Might see play. Won't might actually see play because of this end thing. You know, last one alive. This is an insane buff. This is actually probably will see play. We'll start seeing more play. Won't see play in high MMR. Won't see play. Might see play. Might see play. We'll still probably only see play in unbreakable builds. up in the air. This might not, or might. Definitely will see play. We'll definitely see play. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So 11 of the perks that are getting buffed are still going to see play of survivors versus the killer's 4. Sorry, the killer's 3. Again, the devs are rather oblivious on what they're doing with this game. I might just be a little salty because I see. So there's a lot of these survivor perks might actually start seeing play, but I still see at high MMR this perk, and this perk still seeing play. I feel like I'm going to see almost every high MMR survivor still run these perks. These 3 here. Because these are still insanely powerful. So I see the perks being this perk, this perk, this perk, along with probably this perk. So for 15 seconds, they have a 14% movement speed increase and borrowed time. Yeah. Or this perk. Like it'll be this perk or this perk. This perk's insane with the Hex Totem. Like there's like that 4th perk slot now has a bunch of options than before. Now the Iron Will's not going to be seen that much. Like this perk's a viable 4th perk slot. This perk's definitely a viable 4th perk slot. This is the 4th perk slot viability. If you see a lot of you'll see this probably a lot in the mid to low MMR. Higher MMR, if somehow they kill 2 people before the gens are done, this will see play. This will probably see more play toward mid to low. This will definitely see more play in mid to low. This will see more play in every tier. This might see more play in every tier. This might see more play. And this is definitely going to see more play. Survivors don't need to run freaking Soul Guard to get the effect anymore. But okay, I'm gonna stop complaining. So that is my take on the changes. I see survivors crying beyond all belief. The killers are getting buffed like always. This is a survivor buff patch. Even the buffs that killers are getting are minimal and will do almost nothing. The killer buff perks won't do anywhere near as much as they used to. The perks, the gem regression. So this is gonna be interesting to see what the meta becomes. I feel like it's gonna be a slugging meta because the gen protection perks aren't gonna be as powerful. So we'll see. If y'all stuck around for the entire hour and 15 minutes, thanks. Thanks for stopping by. I appreciate it. Let me know your thoughts on all these changes, because I just see this patch being a complete and utter clusterfuck. Hopefully they look at everything that's happening in the PTB and actually make effective changes. I don't see them changing anything here. I don't see them increasing anything or taking this away. This is horrible. This is a bad addition to the game. Yeah, it's not that fun to get camped and tunneled, but it has to happen until the devs actually make effective changes. Because these changes here aren't going to do a goddamn thing. They're still going to make the pallets. They're just not going to be able to dodge insane god pallets to save them for later. They're still going to make it to pallets. They're still going to make it to windows. They're still going to make it to loops. This minimum .2 change ain't going to do a goddamn thing. This will be my video for the week. It's an hour long. Not next week. I got a bunch of stuff I got to do next week. But the week after, I'll start whack where I left off with all the other perks. I might do the first 3 videos to B, other than the one that's getting buffed. The perks from the new Survivor and the new Killer. Other than this one. Because I just went over this one. This is actually still a really good perk. It's actually even better now. This is... but... thank you for stopping by. And I'll see you in the next one.